Just imagine how it would feel if someone's body was pierced with numerous needles. Today's movie revolves around this theme. The story begins with greed. Laras calls her sister, Ayu, to apologize because Ayu didn't approve of her work. Laras was involved in wrong activities, having relationships with many men, but now she wanted to leave that life behind. Ayu was angry with Laras and didn't answer her call. Ayu is a makeup artist, and Laras went to meet her client. Her friend, who is a taxi driver and also likes her, dropped her off at the location. He was married and had a child, but still wanted to maintain a relationship with Laras. Laras told him, "I will never see you again," and started to leave. Suddenly, the man attacked Laras and tried to assault her. Laras, in an attempt to save her life, ran away and called Ayu. However, Ayu, out of anger, did not pick up the phone. The man severely beat Laras and dragged her to the balcony. He said, "If I can't have you, no one will," and threw her off the balcony, causing 24 fractures in her body. Laras was taken to the hospital, and the doctors told Ayu that a part of Laras's brain was dead, and only a miracle could save her. The doctors showed Ayu an X-ray where they saw several needles inside Laras's brain. Everyone was shocked, and the case was beyond the doctor's expertise. Laras's condition spread everywhere, and her friend suggested Ayu take Laras to a shaman, a witch doctor who could heal her spiritually. Ayu refused because she believed Laras would recover in a few days. Unfortunately, Laras passed away, but suddenly Laras's body started moving, and she sat up. She was alive again. On the way, Laras's fellow patient noticed a figure standing, but Ayu couldn't see it. Laras woke up, and Ayu decided to take her to the shaman. They went to Laras's childhood home, and Ayu met a police officer there to ask about a shaman who could heal Laras. The officer pointed her to one. Meanwhile, the local gangsters also noticed Laras because her story had spread everywhere. Now, Ayu, after seeing an old video, realizes that. Ayu recalls the time when Laras joked, saying, "Surgery is expensive. Let's just get Susuk done." Both laughed about it. Susuk refers to magical needles used to enhance beauty, making a person look young and attractive for a long time. These needles are made from gold and precious materials, and they are inserted as part of a ritual. The needles are guarded by spirits and demons, which increases the risk of attracting ghosts or spirits into the person's body. Susuk is used to heal people, but if used excessively or carelessly, it turns into a curse. The spirits can enter the body of those who wear Susuk. If someone with Susuk becomes sick or suffers an accident, they endure more pain because their body is bound by magic. Ayu then smells something bad coming from a broken dummy with a decayed face filled with worms. When she removes the broken face, she sees Laras's face on the dummy. However, when Laras's friend comes to check, everything looks normal again. The next day, a shaman comes and removes the Susuk needles from Laras's face, causing her great pain. Laras tries to stop the shaman, acting as if someone is controlling her. She attacks the shaman, scratching his face, but he calms her down and prepares to leave. Before leaving, he warns Ayu that the Susuk inside Laras isn't normal, and that they should let her go, as if she were already dead. Ayu refuses and the shaman leaves. Ayu searches online for a Susuk expert and manages to find one. Suddenly, Laras wakes up and Ayu sees her face appear on Laras's phone screen. But when she turns around, Laras is still lying on the bed. Shocked, Ayu drops her phone, and when she picks it up, she sees a figure standing nearby. But in the next moment, it disappears. Laras points towards something, and once again, it frightens Ayu. The next day, they find out that the shaman has died, with scars on his face. A local thug tells the villagers that everything happening is because of the Susuk Laras had done, which has led to her current condition. Ayu asks Laras' friend to go to the Susuk expert for help. The announcement of the shaman's death also reaches the village, and Laras's friend tells the expert that Laras only showed signs of recovery when the shaman prayed for her. When Laras's friend heard about her condition, he was ready to help. Ayu apologizes to Laras for not answering her call that day and returns to Laras. She notices that Laras is in pain and starts cleaning the wound on her stomach, where she suddenly sees an eye. This shocks Ayu, and at that moment, something comes out of the closet, which Laras can see and which frightens Ayu. Then, Laras's friend arrives and everything seems normal again. They take Laras to the expert, who asks them to wait outside because Laras's body is filled with Susuk and it's affecting her. The expert begins to remove the Susuk from Laras, and as he does, a lot of sparkling dust comes out of her mouth. The spirit inside Laras says that it will not leave her body. One by one, the expert pulls out the Susuk, and many spirits inside Laras are revealed, but eventually the Susuk are removed, and Laras calms down. However, the expert is shocked to discover that one Susuk remains an extremely powerful one that Laras had worn earlier. He explains that if he removes this final Susuk, Laras might not survive because her body won't be able to handle it. He shares this information with Laras's friend, and it's revealed that her friend is in love with her, but never told her because he felt he wasn't worthy of her. However, Laras had once told Ayu that she believed her friend would never accept her, meaning both of them liked each other but never confessed their feelings. Laras started recovering, but the villagers began shaming Ayu because of Laras. They called her sister a prostitute and said she should die. Hearing this, Ayu cried and left. The thug also taunted Ayu, saying horrible things about their mother, who had also been involved with many men. He told Ayu that her mother was no better than Laras and that she could confirm this with the police officer, as there had been a relationship between him and Ayu's mother as well. He added that Ayu and Laras had different fathers. Completely devastated, Ayu went to the police officer to learn the truth. He revealed that their mother was the most beautiful woman in the village, and many men fell in love with her and had relationships with her. She eventually married one of the men, and Laras was born. However, their mother also had a relationship with another man, from which Ayu was born. When her husband found out about this, he killed their mother. When the villagers tried to stop the man in anger, they killed him instead. Your mother survived, but she lived like a lifeless corpse. Her mind started decaying, just as Laras's is now. Their mother had also worn Susuk. A shaman was hired to remove the Susuk, but she couldn't extract all of them. That's why they performed a ritual and buried their mother, hoping that the spirit tied to her Susuk would remain quiet in the grave. Now Laras's body is also starting to decay, and her friend tells Ayu that they should let Laras go because they've tried everything, but she's still suffering. The police officer then reveals to Ayu that he is her father, the man from whom Ayu was born. Hearing this, Ayu is heartbroken and leaves. Meanwhile, we see the spirit inside Laras, where she seems to be recovering and trying to get closer to her friend. Ayu arrives and sees this, but Laras is still lying motionless in bed. Ayu assumes that her friend is taking advantage of Laras and asks him to leave. That night, as he's leaving, he sees the thug group heading toward Laras's house and tries to stop them, leading to a fight. Inside the house, Ayu sees a vision of young Laras, who takes her to their mother. Just as Ayu is about to approach, the spirit suddenly attacks her from behind. The police officer and the expert arrive and save her. The expert then tells Ayu that Laras is already dead and the Susuk spirits have taken over her body. He sends Ayu and the officer out and starts the ritual. There was one similarity between Laras and her mother, the female shaman who had tried to remove all the Susuk from their mother couldn't extract them all. So she performed a ritual and buried her body in a special grave to trap the spirits. Now, if Laras doesn't recover, she must be buried in that same grave. Meanwhile, the thug incites the villagers to throw Laras and Ayu out of the village, and they angrily head towards Laras's house. Inside, the expert begins the ritual to remove the final Susuk, but the spirit throws him across the room. Then something takes over the expert as well, and Laras and the expert start fighting, making animal-like noises. Just as the expert is about to remove the final Susuk, Laras attacks him and bites into his neck like she's thirsty for blood. She brutally kills the expert, leaving everyone shocked. Ayu and the police officer were shocked as the ground beneath them began to shake. The officer tied Laras up in cloth and said they needed to bury her in her mother's grave. Just then, the villagers arrived and killed the police officer. Ayu and Laras's friend escaped through the back, taking Laras with them to the grave, with the thug chasing them. However, Laras's friend hit the thug with the car, killing him. They finally reached the cemetery, and Ayu saw a cloth tied around a stone. Ayu realized that this might be the object trapping her mother's spirit in the grave. They started digging up her mother's grave and found that her body had not decayed at all. It was still fresh, just like it had been before. Suddenly, the spirit stood up again and attacked Ayu, but Laras's friend saved her. However, Laras killed him soon after. Laras then returned to normal and hugged Ayu. Ayu apologized to her, knowing that this was the spirit's trick. She pushed Laras into the grave, and the spirit finally left, becoming peaceful. Ayu sealed the grave, and as she left in Laras's friend's taxi, she acted as if nothing had happened, but deep down she was heartbroken. She had lost everyone she ever loved. In reality, anyone who had Susuk in their body could never die in peace until all the Susuk were removed. The only person who could remove the Susuk was the one who had placed them in the body in the first place. This movie clearly shows the lengths people go to in pursuit of beauty, but we must avoid things like Susuk. They may bring temporary happiness, but they can ultimately ruin a person's entire life. This is why people should not be overly obsessed with their appearance. And with this message, the story comes to an end.